and welcome to the Chalmers webinar. My name is Abhilash and I work with international communications at Chalmers. Today's webinar is meant for the students that have Egyptian students that have applied to Chalmers, and so it's only for applicants, and therefore the topics are also going to be around this subject. To my help, I have three of my colleagues, Jens, Andres, and Linda. I also have a student here who will be able to interact with you and answer your questions. Now, the setup of today's, before I move on, I'd like to know, can you hear me? Can you use the chat function? Excellent. Thank you very much for that. Now, we will move on to the agenda of the day. The next 40 minutes are divided in the following way. The first 5 minutes are the rules of the webinar. The next 10 minutes, we will then speak of Chalmers and the application process, followed by a 25-minute Q&A session. During this Q&A session, we will discuss topics that are relevant to the next small steps that we have in the application process. And I see that Kennedy says Kenya is well represented. Excellent. That is a good to know. On the next slide, we are going to be talking about the rules of the webinar. Now, you don't need to activate your microphone. You do not need to activate your camera. And I will request you to use the chat function, and use the chat function only then. All your questions will be answered in the 25-minute Q&A session that we have. And what I mean by all the questions is all the relevant questions. So we will pick the relevant questions and answer them. And if at the end of the time we have not answered any relevant questions, you can always point them towards next stop at chalmers.se. Now, moving on, I'm going to close the chat function. Chalmers University of Technology was founded by William Chalmers in 1829, and we have about a 200-year history. In these years, we have changed many things. Today, we are a university with 40 master's programs. All of those 40 master's programs run 2 full years, and they are all taught in English. When I say 2 full years or full-time studies, what I mean is that while you may have only 1 hour here or 1 hour there in a week as lectures, you will still be expected to put in 8 hours a day of work, which is basically a 9-to-5 job. So we expect you to put in full-time studies. When you get admitted to Chalmers, you become one of the 10,000 Chalmerists studying at Chalmers. This means that you are also part of the 2,600 master students at Chalmers, which also means that you are part of the 900 international students at Chalmers, which also means you are part of the 90+ nationalities that are represented on campus. You will also at some point in time come in touch with one of the 3,000 or some of the 3,000 staff members, including people like me and other administrative staff, professors, teachers, lecturers, and doctoral students. Chalmers is located in the city of Gothenburg, which is the second largest city of Sweden. It is a city that is located on the west coast or the best coast of Sweden. We have 2 campuses. The first campus is called Campus Johanneberg, and the second campus is called Campus Lindholm. And these 2 campuses are connected by a bus number 16, which takes 16 minutes to go from one campus to the other campus. It is also connected by a bus number 55, which doesn't take 55 minutes. It only takes 16 minutes. The unique thing about this bus is that it is an electric bus. What is even more unique is the fact that it is the result of something called the triple helix. The triple helix is basically when education, industry, and government, when these 3 entities work together to create a synergy and a sustainable solution, we have a very good solution in place for a problem that everybody is facing. In this case, the problem was transport congestion on the roads of Gothenburg. How do you solve that? A typical solution is public and collective transport, typically a bus. But how can you make that more sustainable? Well, make it electric. So Chalmers Education, Volvo Industry, and the city public transport government work together to create a sustainable solution and a synergy, which came in the form of the bus number 55. What's also a little more interesting about it is that there are USB ports inside the bus to charge your phones and Wi-Fi, so you can surf on your phones as much as you want. Housing in the form of student housing is all over the city. It is not in the form of dormitories or hostels. It is in the form of student apartments spread throughout the city. And since we have really good public transportation, you can get from point A to point B, from university to home and home to university, from meeting to meeting without any hassle and on time. Moving on, let's talk about the application and admission timeline. You already know that the first two parts are marked in red, and that's because they have passed already. The application window for both scholarships and master's programs was open in mid-October, and it ended on the 16th of January, which was basically Monday. Before this date, you were supposed to have made an application for a master's program and also made an application for scholarships if you're interested in one. The 1st of February is the next deadline that we're facing, and that is the deadline for documentation. Having made the application, you need to support your application with documentation, and that can be either in the form of scan and upload or in the form of regular post, depending on your situation. And you are also expected to pay an application fee. Once you make both of these and you make them before the 1st of February, your application is valid. If you miss this deadline, your application is automatically considered invalid and will be deleted. The next important date in the calendar is the 24th of March. On this day, everybody gets to know whether they were admitted or not, right? So there are 3 states that you can fall into. There are 3 categories that you can fall into. The first category is admitted or conditionally admitted. The second category is waitlisted. And the third category is not admitted. If you were admitted or conditionally admitted, you will be asked a question. Do you want to accept your admission or do you want to decline your admission? If you accept your admission, then you move on to the next steps. The first step would be paying the fees. The next step would be fees, finding accommodation, so on and so forth until you arrive at Chalmers. If you decline your admission, then your seat will get recycled for the waitlisted candidates, and that's the second state you can arrive, right? If you have the second state, which is a waitlisted state, then you will be, depending on your position on the waitlist, you will be given one of these seats that the admitted students declined. Now, let's say you did not get admitted, then that is it, the end of the journey for you. But if you got admitted as a waitlisted candidate, you will receive your results on the 21st of April, right? Once you receive your results, whether that's on the 24th or the 21st of April, you will have to pay your fees, whether you got a scholarship, whether it was a partial scholarship or not, so on and so forth. You will have to pay some amount of fees, and that has to reach Chalmers by the 23rd of May. Post this, you will do many other activities like finding accommodation, applying for visa, so on and so forth, and arrive by end of August and start studying and also participate in our orientation activities. You can find more information about these dates and other dates on the Chalmers website by going to chalmers.se/key dates. Next, we are going to be talking about documentation. All the documentation that you need to submit can basically be divided into 3 categories. The first category is the general and mandatory category. In this case, these are documents that everybody needs to submit. Diplomas, transcripts, proof of English, and passport are typically general and mandatory, whereas specific documents such as portfolios for architecture applicants or specific courses for students that are studying programs or applying for programs that have specific requirements will come under specific documentation. An example is automotive engineering, where control theory is one of the prerequisites. Now, how do you prove that you have that? Well, you will have to submit syllabi or fill up a form, so on and so forth, in order to be able to do that. You will receive an email. You should have actually already received an email from the Chalmers admission department to do this, right? And if you have apply for a scholarship before the 16th of January, then you also have to submit your CV, motivation letter, recommendation letters, work certificates, so on and so forth, in order to support your scholarship application. It's not to say that these documents do not play any role in your admissions. They might also play a role in your admissions, but they are slightly more important when it comes to scholarships. Moving on and talking more about the application documentation, English requirements is very important and actually very strict. These scores that you see for the IELTS and the TOEFL are very strict. You must satisfy these requirements. And not satisfying is not just enough. These scores must arrive at university admissions before the 1st of February. It doesn't matter whether you're scanning and uploading the document or whether it is arriving directly from ETS. It has to arrive before the 1st of February. The cover sheet is a document that you need to submit only if you're making a postal application. If you're not making a postal application, you do not need to worry about the cover sheet. And all documents must be first submitted, whether that's scanned and uploaded, whatever it is. It has to be in its original language first. And if that original language is not English, then you must also submit a translation. And that translation has to be an official translation in English. Moving on, we are going to be talking about the student ambassadors. Chalmers student ambassadors are students that are master's students that are currently studying at Chalmers, and they usually spend some of their time telling the world and you how it is to study at Chalmers, how their life is at Chalmers in Sweden, in Gothenburg. What are their experiences? What are the good things they find? What are the bad things they find? What are the interesting things and the funny things of their life? They write and talk to you about all of these things using various channels. And what I want to leave you by showing you this slide is there are 6 people here on the slide. These are only 6 out of the 20-something ambassadors that are there every year, right? And I want you also to come here. I want you also to have these good experiences. I want you also to be a Chalmers student ambassador. So without ado, I would like to introduce to you Allah. He's going to come here. We're going to sit down and we're going to have a discussion. You're going to raise questions and we're going to try and answer them during our discussion. I will just start by going to the attendees pod and disabling raising hands. All right. Allah, would you like to come forward and put your chair and sit little centered?
Hello, guys.
Thank you for joining me, Allah. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, first السلام عليكم. بحكي عربي أنا بس راح أحكي بالإنجليزي. I said I'm speaking Arabic, but I will speak also in English. I'm a master student here. I'm studying computer system and networks, second year. I was studying before in Syria, and I lived in Syria and Palestine. I have also the Swedish Institute scholarship, SI scholarship, and like now almost I'm done with my studies. Like just a few courses left, and I will be done.
Excellent. I wanted to, on the outset, already say that thank you for stepping in so late. We had an Egyptian student, scheduled to come here and join our discussions, but unfortunately he couldn't make it. I do not know what happened. All of a sudden he was unreachable. I hope he's okay. So I'm very glad that you are here and you're able to even speak the language. That is very nice. It's a good way for me to find a compromise. That said, Allah, you said that you're in your second year. You've already done your thesis. Where did you do your thesis?
I did it in a company like last semester. The company called ASCOM. It's a wireless solution company. So it is in my field of study, and the company is here in Gothenburg.
Right. I will not use the same questions from the last webinar. I'm saying this because if you're interested in hearing more about what Allah has done, and because I had him on the previous webinar as well. So for the Iran webinar, I had him as well, and we talked a lot about his scholarship, a lot about his job prospects and things like that. So I don't want to repeat that here because you can just go to the YouTube channel and watch that. So I'm going to try and use this opportunity to talk about other topics and perhaps even answer some of the questions. One question here is, my English proficiency level is given to me from the American University in Cairo, which is an all-English institute. Do I need TOEFL? Well, Omar, this is the situation, right? All you need to do is go and check this list called the WHED. If your university is on that list and it states that your university provides all of its education in English, and your transcripts very clearly state that the medium of instruction is English, then you really do not need to submit any English proficiency certificate. But if any of these things are missing, then you have a bit of a problem and you do need to submit an IELTS or a TOEFL score. All right. Next, there is another one by Mo asking, I would like to ask about the employability rate. This is a really good question because we took it up in the last webinar as well. We spoke about the fact that Chalmers is ranked number 40 in the world actually. So Chalmers is ranked number 40 in the world by QS on its world employability list, right? And we spoke about how it is because of the fact that it's there's industry interaction is very high, so on and so forth. Do you have any more to add to this? What do you think about the employability rate? You've seen some of your classmates, seniors move on.
Yes.
Do you think they found employment?
Yeah, like in general in Göteborg or in Gothenburg or in Sweden in general, like Chalmers has very high reputation. So when you go to a company and you say you are from Chalmers, it's a very big plus for you anyway. Right. So that really helped, and like also it's depends on your field of study. Like the work opportunity is a bit different, so it's you need to check that. Right. Sweden is very open, so they list everything like with the employment service.
Exactly.
So you can see that. For me, I like most of my friends are here and working that I know. So most of them they didn't leave Sweden. No.
Okay.
Most of them in Gothenburg, some work in other parts because you can go everywhere to work.
And you can actually even go into Europe. I mean, it's inside the European Union, so you can just travel to any other country, find a master's thesis there, or even find a job there. Right?
Yes. I have a friend from India, Amar.
Yeah.
He got us his thesis in Switzerland from Chalmers, and he got scholarship from Chalmers to study there. So he went there, and now he got job there. So it's really flexible and open. Excellent.
Thank you very much. And so it is a good thing that employability is not a myth. No. It is not something that is impossible. It is definitely something that we see as a positive thing, and it's as in we managed to achieve a good rate, right? Excellent. That having been said, wow, okay, things are changing on the layout, which is a good thing. I can now see some things. There's a question by Osaimar. I still can't see the question.
Can I stay after I finish my master's?
Can you scroll it up further? Yeah, thank you. Can I stay after I finish my MSc? Without a question. As you can see, Ala's classmates have stayed or friends have stayed. Yeah. You can stay, of course. Actually, after studies, you get 6 months you can actually apply for a 6-month job searching visa and apply for, ask for and look for work, or start a PhD, or start your own company. Do you have any friends that have started companies?
I have friends who's working in a startup.
In a startup, okay. Yes.
But I don't know if he started that or if he's working with friends. Right. But it was a company and he got a residence permit, so he can stay.
Right, perfect. So yes, you can stay. It's not an issue. I mean, whether it's a small company, big company, whether you're looking for a PhD, it's not an issue. Yasmin asks, does Chalmers give a chance to its students for research and development in fields related to their master's programs? And are they partnered with multinational companies that offer students labs or resources for this? Well, I mean, you are a perfect example here. You've done your thesis at ASCOM, and ASCOM is a Swiss company, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a Swiss company, and the research department is here in Göteborg.
Yeah.
So I worked there with I did some kind of system that logged their network traffic at the customer, so they can improve their system.
Excellent.
So there is like very strong cooperation between Chalmers and the industry.
Right.
And like as I said in the previous seminar, like there is a a job fair here in Chalmers called the Charm, where most of the big companies in Sweden came to offer you thesis and jobs and other things.
Exactly. Now, so there are many aspects to this question. I mean, access to labs is something that is 24/7 on campus. If you are a student of a certain program, you will have access to the building where the program is held, and also the labs that you are supposed to have access to. You will have 24/7 access to that to start with. Number two, you will have access to industry, which is not an issue at all. I mean, in your program, in your courses, you have access to industry, don't you?
Yes.
How is that working for you? Like, do you have guest lectures? Do you go and visit the companies?
Yeah, like it's different from course to course. In the same program, we have different courses. Some courses, like you will have guest lecture from other companies, where you can make some connection with them. Also, we had a visit to Volvo and another visit to Ericsson. Like we saw the labs and the work environment there. They gave us some like lecture about what they are, like the hottest topic that they are working. So it's really like very open with the companies.
Exactly. So so you have access to labs and research, and the aspect to be aware of, Yasmin, is that you do not necessarily only do research or only do classes. You actually do a combination of these. So you actually attain a really nice mix of both these things. Now, Sameh asks, does the student visa allow me to work while studying? The Swedish student permit does not stop you from working. You can work as much as you want. There is no limit on the number of hours. There is no limit on anything. You can do as much as you want. But the question is, Ala, do you have time to work?
I think if it's part-time, you can work, because I did a lot of like voluntary part-time. Like I wasn't looking for money, I was looking for experience and like activities. So I did that, and like it didn't really affect my studies.
No.
And you can work part-time. I have some friends did that. I have scholarship. I didn't need the money to do part-time job.
Exactly.
So many people do that, even the Swede, like many people studying with me and they are working somewhere. So it's common. It's not something very.
But do you think this is something that happens to every student at every program?
No. It's also depend on your skills, what you know, what you can work with. If you're really looking for that, or if you are just waiting someone to offer you a part-time job, it's depend on.
You can't just wait for people to hand you their job, right?
Yes.
Of course. But I mean, I was also going to come to the point that it's also a matter of what kind of program and what kind of courses you choose, because it's not always that you actually have a course that is easy or is simple. Sometimes courses take a lot of work. You have assignments, you have project work, so on and so forth. That takes away a lot of time. Like I was saying at the beginning, it is full-time studies. So if you have full-time studies, it might not be easy for you to work. Mo asks the question, if I plan to settle in Sweden after my MSc, does the time spent during studies count towards getting residency in Sweden? I am sorry, Mo, that's not the case. I am Indian, and I lived in Sweden for 7 years, and I only got my permanent permit recently. So residency is a matter of working, not of studying. You have to have worked for 48 months in order to receive a permanent residency permit. Mohammed asks, what is the meaning of all documents should be in original languages rather than issuing documents in Arabic, for example, and then translate it? I have the option to issue the documents directly in English from my college. Is this okay? Well, I really do not know the answer to this question. Do we have an answer to this question?
The original language of your university.
What is the original language of your university? I think that I would say this. If the default language is Arabic, then you must get a translation. If the default language is not Arabic, then it doesn't matter. Then you already have it in English. But check what the default language is. It's not a matter of whether you have choice, as in asking your university, can you produce this in English? If it is produced in default in Arabic, then Mohammed, I would suggest that you get it in Arabic and then get it translated. If you still have a question regarding this, I would say raise it to university admissions, contact them and ask them what the situation is. Because I don't think as a communications officer, I have the entire knowledge of all the rules to give you a straight answer to this question. Yasmin actually asked a really interesting question. In computer systems and networks, was there a course involved with game development? Did you have that, game theory and game development?
I think the course is available, but it's not in our program.
Yes.
It's in different program,
Yeah.
but still you can take it.
Exactly.
If you are interested, you can take it.
Exactly. I would say that that course is actually part of another program called Interaction Design and Technologies, right? So if you want to take that course, you can take it. Even studying computer systems and networks, you should be able to take it. But remember that it is first and foremost a course of interaction design and technologies. So if you're interested in game development, maybe that is the program you should be looking at, not computer science and networks. There is a question by Mohammed 4. Is proof of studying in English at university is enough as English proof, or I must have TOEFL or IELTS? As I was saying earlier, you really do need to have two things. One, your transcripts state very clearly that the medium of instruction is English. Two, as it shows on the notes just below your question and answer area, the WHED list should list your university as a university that has all of its studies, all of its programs, all of its education in English. If these 2 points are not satisfied, then you will need to submit IELTS and TOEFL. Yes, so Ala, I will come back to you and raise another discussion point with you. What do you think about the environment at Chalmers? Is it international? How international is it? I think I want to start with asking you, how big is your program?
My program was really big.
How many students?
Like, I think we were about 100 students.
100 students
It's
in
one
the
of the
program.
biggest programs in Chalmers. Yeah.
Okay.
So at least there was people from like 50 countries.
50 countries in 100. Wow, that is amazing.
Yeah, it was
wonderful, wonderful.
It was wonderful.
And but compare that with how many students did you have in different courses and different classes?
With the classes is different. Like I had classes with like maybe 10, 12 students. It's depends on the interest. Some classes with like 40, 50. It's really
it depends on the courses.
Depends on the course and how many people are interested.
Right.
But like the size of the class, like it's depends on the amount of the people. So it's never like people have no seats or something.
No, exactly.
It's always the size is regarding the amount of students.
Right, exactly. Now, in those classes and courses, now you already said that there were about 50 nationalities in your program alone. What do you think about how is the spread when it comes to inside your class, inside your courses? How was the spread, the international spread? Did you have lots of international students?
Yeah, it's everywhere in Chalmers. Like each year, like there's more than 1,000 students, and there's something. It's you don't only meet the people in your program. You meet also people in other programs because maybe there is some common courses with other programs. You meet them. Also, there is. I was part of Chalmers International Reception Committee, so they organize a lot of activities for students where you meet people from all other programs and from all the nationality. So social life, it's really easy to involve with the international committee here, and it's really big. So.
Excellent. I was coming to actually from that perspective. I was actually getting to how important do you think that is for you? To your education, how important do you think that is?
Like the thing, it's really good that for like having connection all over the world, connection in industry because these people like they are gonna work later, and also it will expand your horizon. Like you will meet a lot of different culture. You were looking for life. It will be really different. So it was really like very rich experience for me. I'm very happy to have that.
Wonderful, wonderful. And you're also part of the Swedish Institute Future Leaders Network.
Yeah,
Global Future Leaders Network. Yes. So that gives you access to a whole other set of students around Sweden as well.
Yes, yeah, it's a different story also there.
Great, great. Can we take the first one, Mogoma?
Yeah.
Is it possible, Mogoma asks, is it possible to, after obtaining a study offer at Chalmers in a specific program, to request a move to another program within the same school, that is MSc Energy Engineering to MPhil Energy Engineering? Well, Mogoma, I'm not sure whether you're applying to Chalmers because we don't have those programs. We only have Masters in Sustainable Energy Systems, and we do not have MPhil programs at all. So I'm not sure that you're actually talking about the same thing. That said, it doesn't matter. Your question is still valid, and I will answer it from the perspective of, yes, you can change, but you have to do that after you enroll. So you get admitted to a program, yes. You pay the fees, you come to Chalmers, you register as a student, you enroll as a student, and then once you've enrolled, you have a period of up to, I think, 2 weeks to decide whether you want to stay or not within the program. And in that case, if you don't want to stay and you want to change your program, you can change it, and you can then approach your student counselor for that request. And that then there is a process to go for following it. But there is never a guarantee that if you make that request, your request will be accepted. There is no guarantee to that. Okay? Next question is, how can I get a scholarship? Well, oh no, yeah. Well, you need to make an application. That's the first and only step. You make an application and you motivate it. What about living expenses? Well, we already took this up in the previous webinar, but we can still discuss it a little. I mean, we are talking about specific kind of dietary requirements, halal food, or finding Egyptian food. I don't even know whether that's even possible. But I'm sure that Arabic food or Middle Eastern food is definitely available. I've been to a Lebanese restaurant.
Yes.
What do you think?
Yeah, it's available in most supermarkets. You will find the site for the Arabic food. Like I would say some names in Egyptian, like full hummus, like everything like that is available, and you can buy it. And there is actually a big Arabic supermarket is very close to the center of Göteborg, like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So you can buy everything, like the breads, everything you want inside.
And is it cheap, do you think?
I think it's like comparing to the Swedish things, it's the same prices. It's nothing special about the price.
Right,
it's
right.
the same.
Right. And your cost of living, I mean, if you were to live, now you have a scholarship, and that scholarship is pretty generous. But if you were to live a self-financed life, how would you put your expenses?
Like
how much would you spend on a monthly basis? Like your rent, how much is your rent?
Like in general, like it was like 3,500 per month.
Do you spend anything on public transport?
Yeah, like it's 450 for the public transport. But for me, it's not all the month. Because I was living close to Chalmers.
Right.
So in summer I got it. In winter, no, because I don't go far away in winter.
No. How about when it comes to food and things like that? How much do you spend on food?
Like I think for food, if you are gonna cook at home, like it's around 2,000 to 3,000, depend on the type of food, the meat, like vegetarian or meat, like depend on that.
Right.
If you are gonna eat mostly outside, it will cost.
It will of course be expensive, and that's expensive anywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't matter which country you're living in.
But still, you can eat in the restaurants in the university. It's a bit cheaper or like
than outside,
than outside with like really good food.
Right. Excellent. There's a question here. Can I work as a research assistant at Chalmers? Ahmed, the situation is as such. You can, technically speaking, but you cannot expect to be paid. That's one. I must also add that this is actually an exception. It is not the rule. It's not common that you will be admitted as a research assistant. The reason for that is that it's the PhD students that actually work with this sort of work, research assistantship, teaching assistantship, so on and so forth. So if you're asking this question from the perspective of financial gains, financial reimbursement, then it's not going to. It's very, very rare that will happen. Even with just the expectation of I just want to work in a lab, I just want to get to know, there are chances that you might not get it. But it's not unheard of. It's not something that it does not happen. It does happen. And I have come across students that do it. Have you done this? Have you been a research assistant or helped in a course or something like that?
No.
Have you been a course evaluator?
Yeah.
Right. That's one way you can be involved. Can you explain course evaluation?
So course evaluation, like it will be like maybe one or more students in each course. They will be chosen, or you can apply for that. Then you will like get feedback from the student, how they think about the course, how the thing is going. They are understanding everything. There's some difficulties. It's very fast, or it's a lot of information in that course. So you will gather all of that information, then you will discuss it with the professor and some other people responsible for the program.
Right, exactly.
Yes.
So this is actually really important for you to know, because this means that you are a part of course development. You are a part of course content. You are a part of making the course better every day and all the time, year upon year. It's very important because your opinion matters. If you feel that a course is not valuable, that means that you can be part of the course evaluation by either giving your opinion to the evaluator, student, representative, or you can be yourself a representative and tell the teachers in the end, in the feedback session, that these are the reasons we think the course was good, these are the reasons we think that the course was bad, right? And that feedback actually goes into the development of the course. I cannot see that question because it's behind the light, but perhaps we can raise the box a bit. Yeah, there you go. There you go. And it's going. Excellent. Woohoo! Yes, now I have the question. Bashir is asking, I will be taking my IELTS exam tomorrow actually, but I highly doubt the result will be ready by the 1st of February. What should I do in this case? I have a receipt documenting my registration for IELTS. Well, Bashir, this is the situation, right? Usually IELTS will give you the results pretty immediately. It's quite possible that you will get your results very, very quickly. Now, if you do not get the results, it is okay for you to submit the results up until mid-February. Chalmers Admissions does make an exception now and then. But, this is the most important point. You cannot be guaranteed that your application will be considered on time. There is no guarantee. See, the deadline is absolute. So any documentation that comes after that, if the admissions unit thinks it's possible to show some kind of leniency, then you will be shown that leniency. But if they decide that, nah, there is no possibility, then I'm really sorry, your application will not be considered. Right? So it's very, very, very strongly up to the admissions department after the deadline. There's a question about, can I bring my wife and children? Of course you can. But then the question gets a little, it gets a little crazy, so to speak, because you have to think of visa applications and how much money you've got to show in your accounts and all sorts of other details that are important there. And that is something that Chalmers cannot be involved in. Chalmers is not involved when it comes to visas, right? So that will be a problem between you and migrations office. So you cannot really get that done in any other way. It's also and accommodation is again a problem, because we only have student apartments, and student apartments are not really built for families. So that will also be a small issue. So you will have to think about this in advance. I'm not trying to discourage you from applying or from getting admitted or anything. What I'm trying to tell you is that you will have to think in advance about these situations and work accordingly. Identify the solution accordingly. I only have 1 more minute, so I would like to round it up by saying thank you, Allah. Thank you very much for joining me, and thank you for helping me such a last minute, help. It was really nice. Thank you so much for joining us. I will now say goodbye.
Bye.
I will now end the webinar by thanking you for attending the webinar. It was really nice that you took part, that you asked all of these questions. I am absolutely sure that you have more questions that were not answered. And if you do, please send your questions to nextstop@chalmers.se. I am not saying that we will answer your question tonight, tomorrow or during the weekend. I'm not saying that you will receive an answer next week, but what I am trying to tell you is that we will get to your question. You see, we've been conducting webinars this entire day, and hundreds of students have participated in this webinar. And as you can imagine, all of those students will have had questions, and they have all asked us questions. And we are only 4 people working with the email box. So we will have to work very hard, and we promise you to work very hard to get to those questions. But please give us some patience. Please wait for us to get to your question and answer it. Right? Meanwhile, I suggest that you go join the Facebook group Next Stop Chalmers Egypt. Go join the the Facebook group Next Stop Chalmers Global. Talk to each other, help each other, because some other people might have the answer to the questions you have. So cooperate, collaborate, and help each other. Meanwhile, I also want to let you know that we have recorded this webinar, so we will upload the recording to YouTube, which means please go subscribe to our channel and watch the webinar again. Maybe you want to listen to Allah speaking about something once again, and whoa, wait, what did he say about that question? Right? So do that, and you can also watch the other webinars, because as I was saying in the beginning of the webinar, most of the questions you've asked, other people have also asked, and that is why we try to keep the discussion different this time, right? So we have a lot of different questions that have been asked. They have been answered in many different ways by many different students, but from many different countries. So you will get a feeling of what everybody feels. That said, this was the end for me. Thank you for joining us. This is Chalmers University of Technology, and our vision is for a sustainable future, and my vision for you is for your future. Take care. Goodbye.